So in this section, we talk about something called stoichiometric calculations. And stoichiometry is just a fancy word that deals with calculating the amounts of reactants and products involved in a chemical reaction. The complication with chemical reactions is quite often when we're dealing with one, we know the mass of a substance. We can put it on a scale, we can weigh it, and we can know that we might have 5.2 grams of a substance. The problem with that is that in any chemical reaction, it's not the mass of the substance that's important. It's the number of moles or the number of molecules that react. And since every atom and every molecule has a different mass, 5.2 grams of one substance would contain a different number of molecules than 5.2 grams of a different substance. So for example, if we look at the chemical reaction here, CH4 plus 2O2 yields CO2 and 2 H2Os. CH4, 1 mole of CH4 would weigh roughly 16 grams, whereas 1 mole of O2 would weigh roughly 32 grams. A mole of CO2 about 44 grams, and a mole of H2O about 18 grams. So if we talk about mass, we're not talking about the same number of moles and the same number of molecules. And in a chemical reaction, it's the number of molecules or atoms that are present. So we need to know how many moles are involved or how many molecules. It's easier to deal with moles because we can convert moles into relatively easy numbers. If we're talking about 18 grams of water, that would be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. An incredibly large number that is difficult to deal with. Whereas if we're talking about 18 grams of water, that's 1 mole. 1 is a relatively easy number to deal with. So to deal with any kind of stoichiometric calculations, we have 3 basic steps. Number 1, whatever substance we know the mass of, we need to find out how many moles of it we have. Then, once we know that, we can determine how many moles of the unknown substance we need or we produce. And once we know how many moles of the unknown substance, we can find the mass of it quite easily. So it'll be a 3-step question for all of these questions, but the good news is it will be roughly the same each time.